Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest online event here at the University of California, Merced. My name is Ricky Hill, and I am the e-recruiter here at UC Merced. It is such a pleasure to be with you this evening. A big thank you and welcome to you once again. Before we get started tonight, let me give you a couple of quick tips. If you need to adjust your audio settings, you can do that in the lower left corner of your screen. Go ahead and click that option and make the settings as you see fit. If you would like to adjust the size of your window, click on View Options in the upper portion of your screen. Lastly, and most importantly, we are all here fully staffed behind the scenes, and in just a moment, we will be kicking off our presentation. We would love to get to your questions tonight, so please go ahead and make note of those and use the Q&A button in the lower portion of your screen. You can go ahead and send those questions to us throughout the presentation. As I said, we are fully staffed behind the scenes to get to those questions. We also will have a live question and answer session at the end of this program. So you'll have a solid 15 or more minutes towards the end that you can go ahead and ask those questions to us, and we will answer those live on screen. So make sure that you do pay close attention to the presentation. We will be answering a lot of those questions throughout, but don't worry, we will get to anything that we haven't answered throughout the evening. Once again, my name's Ricky Hill. I'm the e-recruiter here. I'm so excited to be here. As you see on your screen, we have quite the title tonight for this event, and I will just go over that quickly here. So tonight's event is the first year admits in all majors, as well as lower division undeclared transfer students. Having said that, this event started just a moment ago at 7 p.m. We do actually have another program that also started at 7, parallel to this one. The other one, though, in case you need to hop over to that, we will drop this link into the chat for you. The other event that is happening right now is for upper division transfer students in declared majors. So like I said, if this one sounds like this isn't exactly for you, we do have the other option for you, and you can go ahead and hop on over. We just dropped that into the chat box for you. Once again, a big welcome. I'm so excited to go ahead and hand things over and get this presentation kicked off. I'm handing it over to Kenya.
Thank you, Ricky. So I would first like to start with introductions. My name is Kenya Alas. I am one of the 2 senior academic advisors in our Bobcat Advising Center. I work with all first-year students, and I will go ahead and have my co-presenter introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Linda Yang. I'm one of the other senior academic advisor, and I'm also the coordinator for the undeclared transfer students that will be working with first years and undeclared lower division transfers. Back to you, Kenya.
So these are the goals or the learning outcomes for today. We will review academic advising at UC Merced, go over registration, timeline, and important dates, class placements such as exams, previous college work, and summer planning and how that affects your class registration, introduce you to registration terms, parts of a course, units and course load, where to register for classes, so going over just the registration itself, and introduction to My Degree Path, which is our planning tool at UC Merced. Introduce you to degree requirements typically done in your first year, important academic policies during the first year, some tips for successful registration, and then lastly, some resources or additional resources that you can utilize as you register and prepare for your first semester. So a little bit about academic advising at UC Merced. Every student receives an assigned academic advisor. The Bobcat Advising Center is the advising home primarily for first-year students in every major. And we also have other students that we support. We support undeclared transfer students and undeclared students in second and third year. Every first-year student and undeclared transfer student will receive an email on June 22nd with a temporary summer academic advisor. That summer advisor will be working with you until August 18th. And then on August 19th, you will receive your official advisor if you're a first-year student that will work with you during fall and spring 23. If you're an undeclared transfer student, you will remain with the same advisor that you will receive on June 22nd. In addition, we do have school advising units. We have School of Engineering, School of Natural Science, School of Social Science, Humanities and Arts, known as SHAW, that works with second years and beyond who are declared in a major, and they also work with students who transfer in a declared major. So just some information, what is an academic advisor? An academic advisor is, we are part of the academic mission of the university. We are here to provide you support in this new experience. We try to provide a safe space to discuss academic strengths, career interests, academic or any personal challenges that you're encountering. We are here to support you and provide you resources. So when we have conversations, depending on what you're sharing with us, we will try to refer you to the appropriate resources and just help you define goals and plans to achieve any of your academic goals that you may have during your first year. One thing to know is that we do not register you in courses. We do help you in planning, and that's something we'll go into, introducing you to tools that we use at UC Merced for planning your classes, learning about the sequencing and the requirements that are needed to graduate. So registration timeline and important dates. So between June 22nd and June 23rd, all students will receive an email from one of us. An academic advisor will send you information about registration, and you will also have access to what courses are recommended for your first semester. As I shared earlier, that advisor will be your contact up till August 18th. So if you have any questions, respond back to that email, and we'll try to respond to your questions as soon as possible. In regards to registration itself, it's the week of June 27th to June 30th. Every student has an assigned time and date. You can check your registration time if you go to the link in your portal, My Registration Time, and connect.ucmerced.edu, and you can see when your registration begins. Registration remains open once your time opens for you, and you can continue to make changes to your schedule for your summer time up till August. July 5th, we will have waitlist for courses that are full. You'll see that we use the term closed. Closed means that it's full. So we do have a waitlist that will become available after July 5th. July 1st is when transcripts are due for both your high school and all colleges that you may have taken during your high school time. So just make sure you submit those transcripts to us. And then for exams, anything AP, IB, SAT, or ACT, the deadline is July 15th. And if you are taking any summer courses, which we'll talk about in a little bit more information in a bit, make sure that you send those transcripts to us. If you are taking any community college or any other university, so that we have that information in your record. And then once again, you'll receive an email of your official advisor for your first year, if you're a first year student, on August 19th. And then August 24th will be the first day of class. So summer courses at another campus. So if you're taking courses at a community college or another university, we did have a form where you had to submit information to us in regards to courses that you had taken or were currently taking. And the deadline was May 23rd. If you submitted that information, we did receive that information, and we are currently using that to create your schedule. But if you missed the deadline or didn't inform us because you hadn't enrolled in the classes yet, make sure that you let the advisor know that you get the email from on June 22nd, 23rd, so that we can look at the courses you're taking and adjust your schedule. It can affect your fall schedule. And so we would want to look at that information and see how we need to make adjustments. You will also need to provide us some information so that we can help provide permissions for fall if it affects a class that you're taking in your fall schedule. And then the last part is once you receive your final grade, please try to submit your transcripts before August 15th. And we do have some information on our website about summer planning. So feel free to check it out and we'll provide those resources at the end. So common registration terms. So you may have heard me using course. Course is the same thing as class. So it's a term that's interchangeably used. And then in regards to classes, we have lower division courses that are attached to the numbers 1 to 99. These courses are usually taken the first 2 years at UC Merced and are usually preparation courses or introduction courses. And then we have upper division courses numbered 100 to 199. Typically, first year students don't take these upper division courses unless you have taken other courses in that subject. So for example, if you took Psych 1, you can take the Psych 100 courses because you would have fulfilled the introduction course. Prerequisite means that it's a course that must be completed before taking the next level. So we have an example with writing, our 2 writing classes at UC Merced. Writing 1, which is academic writing, is a requirement that must be completed before writing 10, which is our college reading and composition class. If you have credit for writing 1 already, then you will have fulfilled the prerequisite for writing 10 and you'll be able to enroll in writing 10. Then we have the other term co-requisite. That means it's 2 courses that can be taken together in the same semester. An example that we have below is Math 21, which is our Calculus 1, is a co-requisite with physics. If you have not done Calculus 1 or are not in Calculus 1, you cannot do physics. Physics has a co-requisite of calculus. So you either have to take them together or do calculus and then physics. So it means usually that the courses have to be taken in the same semester. Concurrent is a term that means that 2 courses can be taken together in the same semester. You'll see that some of the courses have that, but not too many. And then we have corresponding. Corresponding means that there are specific sections of a class that go together, commonly referring to a lecture with a lab or a lecture with a discussion. And you have to enroll in both components to register in those classes, or else you're going to get errors. So just keep in mind that you may see those terms in your registration. And then we have class standing. That's based on how many units you have completed. You'll see freshman 0 to 29 units, sophomore 30 to 59 units, junior 60 to 89 units, and then senior 90 units or more. And then CRN, that stands for course reference number. It's a 5-digit number assigned to each part of a class, whether it's a lecture, lab, or discussion. And this is what you use for registration for the class. And later on, we'll show a little more information on how that looks. And then the next term, hybrid. Hybrid means that a course is a combination of online and in person. We do have a couple of courses that are hybrid. And so when you're looking at the schedule, look at the lecture and the discussion and see what parts of it are in person, what parts of it are online. And then the last term we have is TBD, which means to be determined. Typically, TBD at UC Merced means that the class will be taught online, or there will be assigned dates by the professor that are to be determined. And those dates are in relation to the assignments or certain exams that you need to complete. So you won't meet for a specific time. It just means that the professor will determine when you need to submit certain things or have completed certain work. And it's usually at your own pace. So to caution that there won't be a determined time on the schedule. It will just be determined by the professor. And then class load and components. So in order to be full-time, the requirement is 12 units or more. 12 units is the minimum requirement for financial aid, but we do recommend that students take about 14 to 16 units every semester in order to graduate in a 4-year plan. We do have a policy or a normal progress expectation that students are completing 30 units per academic year. So that's about 14 to 60 units per semester. The maximum units allowed in a semester are 18. In the first semester, you can only take 18 units. starting in spring, you can request to take more, but there's a process for that. So we can have a discussion at the end of fall to discuss that for spring. Semester at UC Merced is 16 weeks, and there's 1 week of finals. And as we have shared, classes have different components. There's lecture, discussion, lab lecture, and seminar. On the right side, we have some examples of 2 majors. We have the bio major. You'll see that we have Math 5, which is pre-calculus. It's 4 units. It has a lecture and a discussion. Then we have chemistry, which is the preparation, Chem 1. We have 3 units, lecture and discussion. We have bio, 4 lectures, 4 units for lecture and discussion, and 1 unit for lab, to be a total of 5 units just for bio. And then lastly, we have our writing, which is 4 units and lecture, which is only a lecture. For computer science and engineering, we have the CSC 5, which is the introduction to computing, 4 units, lecture and lab, pre-calculus, Math 5, writing, and then Spark is 4 units, and it's a seminar only that all first-year students have to take in the first year. If you want to learn more about the GE requirements, you can check out our catalog.ucmerced.edu, and you can find more information about breakdown, and we'll provide more information in the next few slides. So this is just a little diagram about bachelor's degree requirements. In order to graduate and receive an undergraduate degree, there's a combination of UC Merced requirements, which is our writing, and then we have history, typically completed in high school. And then we have GE, which we'll go into in the next more slides, that has a combination of different categories. And then lastly, major and school, which are the requirements that vary by major. So students are typically taking a combination of both major and GE during their first year, starting their first semester until they graduate. So here's a breakdown of GE, known as General Education for short GE, that students must complete in every major. There are some parts that we focus in the first year. One of them is the Spark seminar, which is a requirement that must be completed either in fall or spring. You only have to take 1. It's a research seminar. And then we have language. We typically don't recommend language the first semester because we are reviewing your high school transcripts and your AP work. And so we recommend that to be completed in your second semester if you need it. And there's different ways to complete it. So if you already completed in high school, if you did 3 years of one language, that fulfills that. And then we have AP credits, and then we have IB scores. If you have not completed it, then we'll have a discussion for your spring schedule to consider taking it in your spring schedule or in your second or third year. And then we have the written communication that's attached to our entry-level writing requirement, known as Writing 1. Some students may have already completed this, either if you did AP work, if you took the exam and placed out of it through UC Merced, or if you took a college course during high school. And then the second writing class, which is Writing 10, some students may have already completed as well with AP credit or community college work. If not, then you'll have to complete these courses in your first 2 semesters. And then we have quantitative reasoning. This is usually attached to statistics and calculus. It can vary by major, and we'll go into that more carefully once we meet in our, every student has to do an advising appointment. So we do go over this information a lot more carefully. And then we have approaches to knowledge, which is the 6 total courses. Approaches to knowledge is split into 2 areas. There's area A, natural and engineering science. For that category, there's a requirement of 3, 1 from natural science, 1 from engineering, and a third course from those 2 categories. And then we have area B, that's social sciences, art and humanities. Very similar, 1 from social science, 1 from art and humanities, and then the final course from either of those 2 categories. So eventually a total of 6 courses from these 2 areas. And then lastly, the intellectual experience badges. Well, they used to be called badges, but now they're just intellectual experiences. There's 8 of them that must be completed throughout your time at UC Merced. and they are gained through classes. So for the most part, students already complete them with courses that they are planning. So same thing as earlier, as I shared, if you want to learn more about the GE, you can check out the catalog website, which is listed below, and you can find more information. And then now I want to introduce you to our planning tool at UC Merced, My Degree Path. This is what we use at UC Merced to plan and also to check your requirements for both major and GE. You have access to this resource in your portal. If you go to the icon, if you see on the left, My Degree Path, if you go to your portal, you'll be able to see that, and you can go ahead and start becoming familiar with it. My Degree Path, known as MDP, is what we use to plan, and also is where we're going to be providing class recommendations. We are currently building the plans, and starting June 22nd and on, once you get the email from us, you'll be able to access this. And you can see that you'll find a first semester plan if you go to the tab plans that will have your recommendations for fall. So you'll be able to see on your end of this, you'll see that on the right side, you'll see first semester plan. These are recommendations that we've built based on your information, your scores, exams, and any college work that you have submitted to us. And then on the left side is a sample plan. You will see that you will have access to the plan for all your other years, but we will primarily be focusing on your first semester. So you'll be able to see both major and GE requirements. When you look at your plan recommendation on the right side, this is what you're going to see. This is an example of a bio major. You're going to see that we have your primary classes, math, chem, bio, and writing. And then we have alternative classes. If these classes are full that are recommended as backups, they also fulfill other categories, but may not be usually done in your first semester. But you can take them if they become full, if these ones, your top 4 or 5 classes become full. And then you may see that there are some areas where it says select GE Arts and Humanities. This is referring to a category, and we did put together a GE list that you'll be able to see if you copy this link and go to that website. You'll be able to see a GE list that we put together for fall semester that has a breakdown of the categories. So you'll see that we have Spark, writing, quantitative, and language, but these are the categories that we will be referring to a lot more on your plan: the natural science, engineering, social science, and arts and humanities. So feel free to take a look at the website, or you can also go to our main website and you can find it under forms. And at this point in time, I will go ahead and turn it over to Linda to talk about registration.
Thank you, Kenya. So like as you know, after you've received your course recommendations during the week of June 22nd or the 23rd, you may be wondering what's the next process, what's the next step? And so as mentioned, once you receive that email, what you want to do is take a look at your My Degree Path for those courses, those course recommendations. For the lower division transfer students, you will receive an email with those course recommendations in that email on the 23rd, the 22nd, or the 23rd. Step 1 is you want to go into your UC Merced, the Connect platform, and click on the magnifying glass that says My Registration. Next slide. So after you've selected the My Registration icon, you will see kind of some options available for you. So preparing for registration, registering for classes. You can then look for the class schedule to see what's available. You can browse the catalog if you want to take a look at those course descriptions. And so if you want to take a look at when is your assigned registration time, you can then go ahead and click on prepare registration to see when you will be registering during the week of June 27th to June 30th. So once you've identified your date and time, you would then want to go to register for classes to begin searching for the desired courses. Step 3 would be selecting the appropriate term. So since we will be starting the fall semester, you would want to select the fall semester of 2022 as indicated in the picture. Next slide, please. So step 4, after indicating this correct term, fall 2022, you want to then go and find classes. And so this is often considered what we refer to the open class schedule, the open class list. This is where you will be able to select the subject. So if you are looking for, if you're planning to take a math class, it would be mathematics. For the course numbering at UC Merced, we use 3 digits. And so as Kenyon mentioned, if it's a lower division, those will be anything from 001 to 099. Upper divisions are typically, first years you may not be taking it in the first semester, but any upper division courses will start in the 100s. And so in this part, you'll put the subject, course number, if you're searching for a math class, then pre-calculus, you would do mathematics, course number 005, and click search. Next slide. And step 5. And so as mentioned earlier, a lot of our courses, they have multiple components. And so sometimes some classes may only have 1, sometimes some classes may have 2 or 3. And so in order to successfully register for the class, you want to add all the required components. And so for this example, let's say we are registering for a Math 21. Math 21 is a calculus one for physical and engineering students. Math 21 requires a lecture and discussion. So in this section, you would then want to find a lecture component. And so for an example, as shown on the screen, you would see that Math 21 section 10, that is the lecture component. Right. And so that lecture component is also paired with a corresponding discussion. Typically, all of those corresponding discussions will be right below underneath before a lecture begins again. Or what you could do is, if you know that this is the lecture component and it fits your date and time, if you look onto to the right side and you click on view link, you will then be able to see all of the corresponding discussions attached to that specific lecture. So you can view it that way. Once you identify the lecture and discussion component, you would then be able to add that class. So next slide, please, Kenya. So in step 5, so when you're adding the classes, since let's say you've set as you're wanting to add the Math 21 lecture and you've decided on discussion, you want to then add those both corresponding courses to your shopping cart. And so once you've added that to the shopping cart, you will be able to see kind of a panel of the summary. So the summary is a summary of your registration process. And then to the left side, it's a schedule of how your schedule may look like if you were to add these courses. And so if there's no time conflicts, you've satisfied all prerequisites, in order for you to fully register in the class, you need to click submit in order to be registered into those courses. So what you would want to see is at the far bottom left, that the status says registered and not pending, as what the summary has shown on the far right. Next slide. And so as mentioned, so that completes your registration during the registration time. So as mentioned, there is a course waitlist that students are able to add on if any classes are closed. And the course waitlist will begin starting July 5th. So waitlist is for closed classes open to fall 22 admins. You will be able to add if the class is full. But you want to note that there is no guarantee that space will become available. There are a limited number of seats for waitlists for each class. And so we do encourage students to enroll in 12 to 16 units during your assigned registration. And then you can go back during that July 5th to see if you weren't able to add a class, or you're looking for a class that was closed, you can then be able to get on the course waitlist. So if you're waitlisted when a seat becomes available, you will receive an email to your UC Merced email and have 18 hours to enroll in those courses or course. Units for the waitlisted classes do not count towards your total enrolled units. And so when you are on the waitlist, you're not enrolled in the class. I want to emphasize that. And so as mentioned, you want to register in 12 or more units during your assigned time to trigger full-time status, or if you are receiving financial aid, this is also highly encouraged for you to receive financial aid. You can waitlist if two conditions are true. So another thing, you want to double check for any prerequisites or restrictions for that class, and you will be able to get on the waitlist only if the waitlist is not at full capacity. So how do we add, how do you differentiate between a lecture, discussion, lab, and where those course waitlists will be linked to? So for most classes, for linked classes, the lecture, lab, or discussion, usually the course waitlist will be attached to the smallest section. So that's the discussions or lab components. Next slide. So how do we get on, how would you get on or add onto the course waitlist? And so very similar to how you would register, you will go to your My Registration, click register for classes, and then select the appropriate fall 22 term and search for the course subject. And so same using the Math 21 an example. So let's say in this example, we can see that the areas in the red, the waitlist is full. So if you see the status column, that will tell you if there's available seats or tell you if the waitlist is closed already. So as you can see on the screen, the circle and that is indicated, that means there's 1 out of 10 seat waitlist open. So what that means that there's a seat available for you to add onto the course waitlist. The status icon that shows in red or exclamation with those red, that indicates that the waitlist is full. So if you were to add, you won't be able to add into that waitlist. Next slide. So adding the course to the waitlist. And so in this example, let's say the O2, as mentioned, the waitlist will be on the smaller section since Math 21 requires a lecture and discussion. So you would add, click on the right side and click on add, and that will bring up the panel. So that will bring up the summary and the schedule. And what you'll want to do is then click on the action and click on waitlist and click submit. So that will then be able for you to be registered onto the waitlist. As mentioned, it does not add you to the course. You should still want to register for full-time in 12 units or more during your assigned registration time. Next slide. So step 3. So let's say once we're added into the course wait list and you check your UC Merced email and you receive an email notification from the UC Merced registrar, the message will indicate when your research seat will be expired. So as mentioned, you will have 18 hours to add into those course, into the class. And so what you want to do once you receive that message is do the step 4 is go into your My Registration, click on register for classes, and then add all corresponding course or all corresponding sections to the math class or to that particular course. And so for this example, you would want to select the lecture component for the Math 21 along with the Math 02 discussion. On the action, you would then want to select web register and then click submit in order for you to register successfully for those courses. Next slide. Moving forward, I'll go over some academic requirements, Math 5 if needed. So there are 18 majors at UC Merced that will require a minimum of a Math 5 or college calculus, whether that be the Math 11 or 21, depending on their major. And I'll talk a little bit more about the difference between those in the next few slides. But I didn't know that 8 majors do not require a Math 5 or no math at all. So those majors include a critical race and ethnic studies, English, global art studies program, history, philosophy, political science, sociology, and Spanish. So if you have questions about if you need to take a math, definitely feel free to connect with your academic advisor to consult. So based on the Math 5 placement, so based on if you've completed the our UC Merced math placement in May, if you have AP IB exam scores or completed an equivalent math class from a community college, that's how your advisor places you into the appropriate math class. And so that whether that be the Math 5 or the college calculus. So our components at Math 5 is a little bit different. So the Math 5 is a hybrid, meaning lecture will meet in person, will meet online. And so Math 5 is completed through a module called Alex that you would do and complete multiple modules for your lecture component. Then you will be meeting twice a week with the instructor in person for about 2 hours to do your quizzes and kind of consult and build upon what you've learned in the lecture components. So format maybe can be a little bit challenging for some students. If this is the case, we have provided some alternatives. You could take a Math 5 equivalent at a California community college in the summer of 2022. You can use assist.org because that will show how California community college courses transferred to UC Merced, or you can enroll in the free online Summer Edge program to strengthen your skills in math, chemistry, or writing. For more information, you can take a go to summeredge.ucmerced.edu for kind of what the program entails, but do note that you would not receive academic credit. This is only for your personal gain, for you to kind of get an eye-opening of how the courses will look like at UC Merced. The Summer Edge program, if you're interested, will begin July 5th to August 12th. Next slide. So the difference means, as I mentioned, we have a difference of calculus and physics sequencing. And so our general sequence, if you're placed based on your math course, if let's say a student is placed into Math 5 or the Calculus 1, that goes up to Math 11 and 21 in there. Combined with Physics 18 and our Physics 19. So generally students that are declared in biological sciences, environmental system science, cognitive science will take the Math 11 and Math 12, but note cognitive science does not require physics for the major. Other majors such as cognitive science BA, economics BA, the management and business will require the Math 11, but no physics. For engineering in our physical science sequence, and so that is our 21, 22 series. They are attached in with the Physics 8 and Physics 9. And so students that are declared in the engineering major, so that's our mechanical engineering, civil engineering, material science engineering, mechanical engineering, environmental engineering, you will take the Math 21, 22 series. Applied math, chemistry, physics will also take the Math 21 series. The exception is the majors in Econ BS. For the quantitative emphasis, we'll also take the 21 series, but no physics is required. Next slide. So I want to academic policies that you all should be aware about is for students declared in the School of Natural Sciences majors only. So that's the chemistry, biology, physics, environmental system science, applied math. The school has a policy called early progress policy that all students must complete their first level math. So whether that be a Math 11, 5, or 21, and their first level chemistry, that's our Chem 1 or Chem 2 before the start of the third semester. So it's really important in your first semester that you complete a math in your first year, your math and your chemistry in order to meet the early progress policy for the School of Natural Sciences. For the School of Engineering majors, so bioengineering, civil engineering, computer science, engineering, environmental engineering, mechanical engineering, material science engineering must take at least 2 courses in their major, the math, science, and engineering every semester to be on track in order to graduate within your 4 years. In all majors at UC Merced, we have a normal progress policy that we do expect students to complete an average of 30 units each academic year to graduate within your desired 4 years. Next slide. Academic policies continue. So as mentioned earlier, we have a SPARK requirement, the SPARK seminar that all first year will be required to take. So whether that be writing a SPARK 1 or a SPARK 10, the SPARK must be passed with a C- or higher by the end of your second semester. And you would only need to take one. So if you go to the ge.ucmerced.edu/SPARK, you can see what the different topics are being taught in for the SPARK seminars. If you're recommended a SPARK, you should want to enroll in a SPARK within your first semester. In addition, we do have a UC system-wide entry-level writing requirement at UC Merced. Writing 1 will satisfy the entry-level writing requirement, or also known as LWAR. The writing 1 must be completed by the end of your second semester with a C or higher. If you need to take writing 1, you must take it in your first semester. However, there are other ways that you can satisfy the entry-level writing requirement before you've arrived for your first semester. And so for more information on how you've satisfied though, you can find that at admissions.universityofcalifornia.edu/LWAR. Next slide. So kind of some tips for success for registration. We do encourage students to register for 14 to 60 units during your assigned registration time in order to get the best available classes as well. When a class is full or if the class is closed, we highly encourage students to check regularly for any available spots, as seats will become later at a later time, and students, there's a fluctuations over the summer. Waitlist for closed sections will be available starting Tuesday, July 5th. As mentioned, if a class is full, you can't waitlist, but you can always check back to see if a waitlist becomes available. And then if you receive an email, remember to register within your 18 hours for the class. Checking your UC Merced email daily via your Connect portal is really important, because this is a way that your academic advisor, professors, and anybody on campus, this is how we're going to connect with you. And we would highly encourage you to use your student ID number in all messages so that we know who you are, and that can speed our responses. As mentioned, due to privacy, we will only be responding to your UC Merced account. Course recommendations, if you have any questions about the course recommendations that you received on 22nd and 23rd, feel free to, we recommend that you email the summer advisor, the Bobcat Advising advisor that sent you those for any questions. We do have a general email back at UC Merced, but for quicker response, if you email the back advisor immediately, that could expedite response. For any registration errors that you will receive or stuck on, we would highly appreciate if you take a screenshot and send that to your summer BAC advisor so that we can help resolve this situation as soon as possible. Next slide. So some resources that I want to pinpoint, if you have any questions about registration, if you visit our Bobcat Advising Center website and click on the registration tab, that will give you a detailed information of registration, adding classes, and more. The Office of the Registrar for the academic calendar, if you're curious about the start of the semester, any academic policies, any forms, or how to read your My Degree path, you can also refer to the Office of the Registrar. The UC Merced catalog for the 2022 to 23 has been published. So if you want to know more, a little bit about general education policies, how your AP IB scores are transferable, and what courses are exempt, then you can take a look at the catalog. And if you want to read a little bit more about majors and minors that are offered, that's where you can find more information in the 22-23 catalog. Next slide. General education can also be found in the catalog. You would click on the general education in the left column, the open class list for you to check what's available for the fall semester. Take a look at the EMITA website on the Next Steps tab for any important dates and deadlines that are coming up. The EMITA students events, as we will have a wide variety of webinars coming up in the summer, and you can view any past recordings that we've done. And if you have questions about registration, there is a guide on the EMITA website as well for you to utilize. Next slide. And feel free to connect with us. We are on Instagram at @back_UC Merced. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at back general email or give us a call at our general front desk. Next slide. And at this time, we'll turn on to questions.
Yes, thank you so much for that fabulous presentation, everyone. So it does look like we have some incoming questions. Let's go ahead and dive right in. The first one here is, if we took an AP exam this year, the test release date is early July. Does this mean that we will have to predict what score we got in choosing our classes?
So we are aware that there's scores coming until July. You will want to contact that advisor that you get the email from once you get your score. And we will want to touch base to discuss what adjustments you need to make to your courses. So you'll want to wait till you get your actual score. So they should be released in July. And once you see the score in College Board, you would want to connect with that advisor that is assigned to you, and we will discuss adjustments then. So registration does start this month during the week of June 27th, during that week, but it remains open, so you can continue to adjust your schedule as needed before classes start.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And the next question, how do you take an online lecture in a dorm room with 3 other people, even if you have headphones? How does that work?
Well, that's a good question. I think if we have all across campus, there's the library. And so if you are dorming with 3 other people, what I would recommend and our team would recommend is definitely moving going to the library to do your online or finding a quiet place. There's many different buildings that you can find a little secret spot that could be your study session or where you can attend class, your online class.
Wonderful. All right, next question. This person is writing in that they took the writing class placement test, after which it recommended them to take writing 01, but someone in their family suggested that they actually take writing 10. What should they do?
I would suggest for the student to contact their summer advisor and then have a conversation based on that. If you're talking about the writing readiness tool, you can consult with the merit writing faculty to see if you're having questions about what the appropriate writing course could be, but feel free to contact your summer advisor to have further conversations.
Do you recommend declaring your major? Does it really make a difference in your schedule? And is there a way that they can still do that even though the deadline is passed?
So in regards to courses, it's helpful if you have a major selected because depending on the major, there's different requirements. And so if you have a major or majors that you're exploring, you would want to have a conversation with us so we can see what courses are recommended. In regards to the change of major deadline, to officially change the major, it has passed. But you will want to talk to that advisor to discuss courses that are recommended for that major that you're thinking. Now that the deadline has passed, there will be a review after fall 22 semester for declaring a new major. So you would have to wait until the end of the fall semester if you have the requirements for that major that you are thinking to switch into to officially change the major. But you should be taking courses and planning the courses towards that major. So you would want to have a conversation with your advisor that's assigned to discuss that major that you're thinking if it's different from what you selected when you applied to UC Merced. At this point, you would not be able to change it right now, but you would want to let us know so we can adjust your course recommendations and then wait to change the major once that review comes again in January 2023.
Very good. This one's going into the language requirement. So referring to an earlier question by someone who took only 2 years of a language in high school, is the third year in language requirement, is that one of the requirements that can be met during a summer class at a community college?
So depending on the language, we are typically looking at if it's, for example, a Spanish, a French, Chinese, or Japanese. That's the languages we offered in foreign language. You would be able to take a so you would be looking at trying to get into a second semester or second level at a community college to get that to UC Merced. I would recommend if you're planning to take the language during summer, you would want to discuss that to see what language you're thinking. Because if you already took some of the language in high school, you may be able to start in more advanced language. But you can take the language requirement at a community college, but you would want to discuss that. And we do have summer planning resources in our website that you can check out of how to see how courses transfer. But I would recommend talking to us to see what language you're thinking, just to make sure that it's going to transfer to us, and also what will be appropriate level as well too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So what percentage, if you know the answer to this, of the first year classes are typically waitlisted?
That is a very good question. I don't know if Lisa, if you were gonna hop on that.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick. Hi, my name is Lisa Perry. I'm the director of the Students First Center, and this is actually our first semester of using the waitlist functionality. So we don't have any historical data to tell you what classes are normally waitlisted. So if you get on a waitlist course and you have questions, just contact us and we'll guide you through it.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. The next question here. Do you have to pay a cancellation fee if you've registered for classes, but then you change your mind?
Yeah, and I'll take that one too. So as long as you cancel before the first day of instruction, then you won't be charged any fees. It'll all be a full refund, with the exception of housing. So housing is separate from classes. So if you've applied for housing and you cancel your contract, then they may have a fee. As far as classes go, if you register but cancel your courses prior to the first day of instruction, it'll be a full refund.
Wonderful. So the next question has to do with registration and waitlisting again. So the person's writing in that it sounds like that you can be registered for a class, but still on the wait list for the corresponding lecture. Is that the case?
So that's a good question. If they're asking for like the same subject, so let's say they're trying to enroll into a physics lecture preferred time, right? Maybe that's what they're asking. Like if they enroll in one, that's not a preferred time, and another one opens. From my understanding is they should be able to, as long as they drop the other one once the other one becomes available. And in regards to if they're enrolled in 4 classes and are waitlisted in another one, they can waitlist for the other one and then drop the 4th class to add a different subject or different lecture. So the system only allows up to 18 enrollment, but the waitlist, they are able to waitlist as many, but as long as they drop to make sure they're not over 18 to add the other section, that is fine.
Perfect. Thank you so much for tackling that question. And another question related to language. So this person's saying that they're assuming that those years of language need to be in the same subject. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, that was an easy one. Let's move on here to the next one here. How do we check which housing place we were accepted into after they submit the application?
That was housing, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So housing, let me pull it back up. I've been putting the timeline in the chat, but let me find it really quick again. So right now you won't know where you're placed. It looks like July 1st is when the roommate request opens. And then early August is when they're going to start sending out housing assignments. And we did host a housing webinar, I think like a week and a half ago. And it's online, and Scott goes over all those details. So let me post that in the chat for everybody to view.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lisa. All right, another question that's coming in. We might be getting to this one behind the scenes. Looks like one of our chatters is typing, but I'll go ahead and throw it out there here as well. So someone is asking, does the IGETSI certification, does that waive them from having to take the Spark class?
It does not. So if you're coming in, so the Spark requirement requires, the only way that you can waive the Spark requirement is have completed 2 full semesters at a community college following high school. And so for most of our first year students, you will be taking a Spark class in your first semester.
Very good. Thank you for that. So let me go ahead and see here. Some of these questions are a little repetitive. We have some that are coming in about the placement exam. So this person's stating that they missed the deadline to sign up for the writing exam. And is there anything that they can do now to still sign up?
So you're talking about the writing readiness tool. You can still, the tool is still open. We do recommend that you take the writing readiness tool no later than Friday, June 10th, in order for us to review the scores and send out course recommendations by the 22nd.
And all you need to do is search your inbox for the writing placement exam email, and you'll just use that original link that you were emailed the first time to get into the exam.
Perfect. All right, another couple questions here before we do wrap up this evening. Is it possible to take a community college class at the same time as university courses?
So in order to take a community college class, there is a couple of requirements. You have to have done fulfilled certain requirements. So in your first semester, you can't. But in the second semester, you can petition. We do have agreements with Merced College, with our campus partners. We do have an agreement with them that you can take one course at the community college in spring semester. But during the first semester, the expectation is that you're just taking courses at UC Merced. If you're thinking of taking one community college course during spring semester, you'll want to talk to us because the expectation is that you have to get approval before you can do that. The policy is that you're expected to just be taking courses at UC Merced. So if you want to do that in spring, just make sure you talk to us and we can go over the forms for that for spring semester. For summer, there's no exception. There's no forms or anything. It's free for all, but during the semester, the expectation is that first semester solely UC Merced, and then second semester is with appropriate approval.
Wonderful. All right. So a few more questions here. Someone's asking, how do they send their AP scores to us?
Yeah, so the AP scores, you should be able to have College Board send them to UC Merced. So you have to do it through College Board. When you request the scores to be sent, you'll want to select UC Merced and have them sent to us. And there is a fee. I don't recall the fee at the moment. So just make sure you're having them sent to us if you can see your scores already. If you don't see your scores yet, if you're waiting for them to be released in July, once you see them, you'll be able to have them sent to us then.
Wonderful. And now a question regarding athletes. If someone is an athlete, do they get a different date or maybe an earlier date to register?
They do. Athletes have a little bit of priority registration, but it's already reflected in your registration appointment time.
Very good. All right, let's see. We've got one more here. When will students find out and get the information of how they meet with their advisor and who that might be?
Great question. So for summer, you'll get your temporary advisor June 22nd, and that advisor will be only your summer contact, but your official advisor for first year students for fall and spring will be August 19th. We are planning to send out a welcome email that day, and that will be your assigned advisor. So it could be the same summer advisor, it could not be, but your official advisor for your fall and spring semester is the August 19th. And that's when we send out the welcome email and how to meet with us, our appointment system, and we have walk-in hours, and we'll share all that information in that email on August 19th.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for presenting tonight and for helping us in this great question and answer session. Before we do wrap up, I will toss it over to Lisa Perry. I believe you have some news to share.
I do. Sorry, I had to find the unmute button. So I saw a lot of questions coming in tonight about, will this be recorded? And is there going to be more information about registering? Yes, to both of them. You will be getting emails from us over the next few weeks with more information about tools for registering. And then we will have a follow-up webinar on, I gotta find it really quick, June 23rd, same time, same place, that will give you another live demo of registering for classes and another opportunity for live Q&A. Prior to June 23rd, we will have another webinar on June 16th, which is about financing your education, because I saw a lot of questions come in about the fee payment deadline and paying for orientation and books and things like that. I recommend that you also come to that webinar. We have the link for the registering for courses webinar already posted on our website. I expect in the next 2 days, we'll have the link for the financing your education. So I highly recommend keeping an eye on our Bobcat webinar summer series, watching any that you've missed and attending that are upcoming. And thank you, Ricky, for dropping that link in the chat.
You got it. Took me just a second there. Teamwork. All right, everybody. Well, thank you once again for joining us tonight. We did go over just a smidge, but we wanted to make sure we got to all of those important questions as we promised at the start. So thank you to everyone who's joined us this evening. A lot of fun has been had, and we will see you at a future event. Have a wonderful night, everyone.